People want to discover their purpose. You may want to discover your purpose. I don't think you discover a purpose. I don't think you find a purpose. I think you uncover a purpose. I think that the things that you do naturally that bring you joy, literally, many times people think that they're not big enough to be called a purpose. But what is purpose? Purpose is something that you contribute to the planet that it wouldn't get in a particular way if you weren't here. Purpose doesn't mean it has a lot of likes on social media. Purpose doesn't equate with there's a lot of followers. Purpose doesn't equate to it makes you a lot of money. Purpose doesn't even equate to it's glamorous. That's not. All of that's marketing. Purpose says you do this effortlessly, and it brings value and adds value to those who happen to be blessed enough to cross your path.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I was making $300 a month. I quit on my business partner, and the thing that saved me was studying the stories of super successful entrepreneurs. So I hope that this story today helps give you the motivation you need, because I still need it too myself.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Lisa Nichols, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
Number one, I say, let's not try to go and find purpose. Let's uncover purpose. What brings you joy? What do you do naturally? And oh, by the way, it doesn't scream loudly initially. You don't do it and goes, yes, this is it. Do me forever. No. Man, if you told me when I was talking to the administrative staff of DUI facilities, as I'm there as their customer service rep, teaching them how to work on this new thing called a computer. Yeah, I'm gonna date myself. But I put the first computers inside of DUI facilities way back, almost 30 years ago with the company that I worked for. And when I would go in, I'd say this computer is gonna simplify your life. And everyone was so nervous. I asked my boss, can I just spend an hour inspiring them before I teach them the computer? And my boss said, okay, I guess so. And I spent an hour inspiring them before I taught them about this big, scary machine. And in that hour, something woke up in my belly. I enjoyed inspiring them. So I called my boss back in about 60 days and I said, I think they need 2 hours of inspiration. They're really nervous. He goes, okay, do 2 hours. In 2 hours, I would inspire them. And that thing woke up in my belly again. And then I said, so boss, if I agreed to come in a day early, can I spend half a day just inspiring them on my own time? You don't have to pay me. And then the next day we start the training. He goes, okay. So then my 2 hours went to 4 hours. And that thing woke up in my belly again. I didn't know that young woman at 24, looking to inspire the administrative staff at DUI facilities so that she can help them install computers, would be this woman standing in front of you. So your purpose, it will evolve, it will morph, it will expand. But what you have to commit to do is to stay in action. Purpose isn't discovered while you're docile. Purpose isn't discovered while you're stagnant. Purpose isn't discovered while you're sitting and thinking about purpose. Purpose is uncovered when you're in action, doing the things that feel like they might feel good, doing the things that feel like they're going to be in service, and then something jumps in your belly, and you just walk in that direction. But you have to be in action in order to uncover the next best version of you.
Rule number 2 is prioritize your health.
If you're going to have a purpose on this earth that you choose to live out, and if you're going to play big, be a gladiator, be a change agent, stand and embrace the fact that you're a unicorn, if you're going to lead, or if you're going to effectively even follow a great leader, your health and wellness is the vehicle. If you were getting on a cross-country trip, like I'm about to go cross-country, we're gonna drive about 3,000, 4,000 miles. The first thing you're going to do is check and make sure that the vehicle that you're traveling in can get you where you're going. When I realized that your, my health and wellness Our body is the vehicle that gets us to our life purpose. And now I want to share with you my top 3 tips for setting health and fitness goals. Number 1, be realistic. Most of the times, we're not unrealistic on maybe the weight we want to release or the inches we want to shrink or the toning we want to achieve. Where we're unrealistic is the timeline in which we will have it done in. I'm not saying set goals that you can blow past and they don't stretch you, but I am saying set a goal that stretches you but doesn't stress you. Oftentimes, by our own goals, we set up an innate stress level, like we increase our stress level. Your goals should not stress you. Your goals should stretch and inspire you. Someone should have told me that 19 years ago. So if you want to release 20 pounds, release 20 pounds. But let's not say we're going to release 20 pounds in 3 weeks. While you can, the stress level increases. And guaranteed, when you're going all in one area, there's 2 other areas, 3 other areas suffering. And so the number 1 tip is to set realistic goals. Number 2, get an accountability community. So many times I walked alone in my health journey. And so there was no commitment to anyone. There was no one knowing what I called important to me. It was a secret. It's so crazy how the things that matter the most to us, we keep a secret. At least I've done that. And so get a community. I'm inside of my own health and wellness journey right now to say, look, I released a lot of weight 5 years ago. And then I got really busy again. And then my health went on my back burner again. And I gained some weight. Someone lost 20 pounds and I found it and I need to return it to its rightful owner. So I said, I need to get on my health journey. I need to hit a health goal. The first thing I did was I asked people to join me, hold me accountable. Let's do this together. Let's do this as a tribe. So I'm actually in the middle of, I'd like to think, a very exciting journey. We just started it. And it's called #Snatching My Sexy Back. And you can pop with that if you want to. And if you want to join us on this challenge, if you're ready to snatch your fitness back, snatch your shape back, snatch your wellness back, snatch your health back, then join me. Go to BeFitWithLisa.com. Again, that's BeFitWithLisa.com. Absolutely free. You join us. If you want to use the program that I'm using that's giving me amazing results, you can use that program or you can use your own. Let's just do it as a tribe. Click join the challenge so that you can join us. So that's the second thing, is to get an accountability community to cheer you when you wake up and you do 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes. To cheer you when you make the choice for green vegetables over the burger or the chicken or the ice cream. To cheer you when you have 1 extra glass of water. We don't have to make 180% leap. Celebrate the needlepoint moves, because enough needlepoint moves land you in a different place. And the third tip is to be willing, as I've been willing, to press reset. You're gonna get distracted. You may start off running fast and then slow down. You may run into a hiccup, but there's no reason to turn a speed bump, something that would slow you down, into a stop sign. Press reset. That's what I'm doing. I go back at it and go, you're a human experience, Lisa. You're an imperfect person having a perfect experience. And in the perfect experience of an imperfect person, we need to keep our finger on reset. You get to press reset on your health journey 1,000 times. And as you do that, remember that you're not alone in the journey. I invite you to join me. Let's get crazy healthy together, because your purpose, your life purpose, requires your health and wellness. When I got Lisa, your life purpose requires your health and wellness. Then it stops being optional. Let's make your health, my health, our health, non-negotiable. And let's do it together.
Rule number 3 is stay ready.
I want to explain, what does it mean to never have to get ready because you stay ready? What does that mean? Well, first of all, let me make it very clear what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that you're always operating at your highest peak. It doesn't mean that you're always living in some form of false perfection. It doesn't mean that everything is working on path at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people. It does not mean that. But not having to get ready because you stay ready actually means you're being willing to stay fluid and flexible. I jokingly say, and not so jokingly say, I stay parked between fluid and flexible, meaning I have the plan that I made, but I'm willing to morph the plan in whatever way the universe, the day calls for me to. It also means that I'm willing to go from my level of good to my level of great to my level of mastery in any given moment. I'm not going to need time to prepare to give you the best version of me. I woke up ready to give you the best version of me. So when you hear me say, don't get ready, stay ready. That means, are you open? Are you willing? If you thought you had to run 9 yards to get the job done, are you willing to run 13 when you find out, oh my God, there's 4 more yards? Are you willing? Stay ready means to expect the unexpected and be willing to give the world exactly what it needs in those moments. Don't get ready, stay ready to have grace and ease for yourself. Don't get ready, stay ready to have more compassion for the people that you live with. Don't get ready, stay ready to be celebrated and for someone to see your greatness. Don't get ready, stay ready to forgive what perceivingly is unforgivable. Staying ready means, can you live parked between fluid and flexible? Can you live? Are you willing to live ready for that thing that you didn't expect? Can you walk? Can you walk as if you know exactly where you're going, even if the road takes a different direction? Stay ready means don't be surprised when opportunities pop up. Don't be surprised. Expect the opportunity even though you didn't see it coming. Expect the relationship even though you didn't see it coming or going. Expect the opportunity to show up and shine. Expect the moment when you need to be silent. Expect it even when you didn't see it coming. See, the dichotomy of staying ready is that you're staying ready for that you don't know. And so can you spend a lifetime never having to get ready because you're committed to staying ready?
Rule number 4 is be your own rescue.
When you look at being your own rescue, what does that look like? Being your own rescue comes from so many different areas. I've always taught that we need to separate our life into categories and manage your whole life in categories. The health and wellness category. What does being your own rescue look like in health and wellness? For me, it was pretty radical. For me, it was all the way from not only getting more physically fit, but it was going to the doctor and asking for medical help. It was saying something's happening in my body and I don't know what. It was no longer ignoring what was happening. What does being your own rescue look like in your finances? For me, it was me writing myself a check the way I wrote SD&G and the way I wrote the electricity bill and the way I wrote my rent check way back 20 years ago. It was me writing a check to my dream and putting in the subject line, funding my dream. That was being my own rescue as well. What does being your own rescue look like in a relationship? Does it look like just speaking up and asking for what you need? Or does it look like telling someone, I love you more often? Or thank you more often? Or please accept my apology for not showing up for you? What does being your own rescue look like in the different categories? And then what does action look like to be that rescue? Because when you can be your own rescue, you actually are your own superhero. You actually are your own best friend. You actually become everything you need for you. And then you can serve everyone else from your overflow.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5 is practice stillness.
I'm recognizing more and more the gift of space. Space and rest. Space and restoration. I'm realizing more and more the gift of stillness, the gift of reflection. You actually can get more done by having time in your calendar to be still, to think it through. I had to have this swing set when I moved here. I immediately purchased it, immediately got it installed and put together. My beautiful brother did it almost 18 months ago. And this might be my 3rd time on it. So I'm not sharing a lesson that I've mastered. I'm sharing a lesson that I'm learning. Let's together learn the gift of restoration, reflection, and stillness.
Rule number 6 is start journaling.
We're talking about journaling, writing things down, or should I say, capturing your ideas and your intentions. Now, when I look at my own practices, they've evolved over the years. I think I probably have enough journals over the last 25 years to fill up at least someone's home library. In my journals, I jot down what I'm thinking, I jot down how I'm feeling, I jot down random ideas, I jot down God's downloads to me. I don't have a particular rigid order to my journals because my journals is where my creativity flows. But in the last 5 years, my journaling has evolved. I actually write a lot less. And now I have an audio journal. So I have a file of my thoughts because I actually like to not only know what I'm thinking, but I'd like to feel the tone now. I like to feel the energy now of my thoughts. And so I audio journal a lot. I audio journal when I'm on the plane. I audio journal in the airport. I don't care about the background noise. I wake up at night, grab my phone, and I audio record because there's so many ways that you can audio record. I auto record my thoughts. Is it important to write down your thoughts and your practices? I think so. Is it important to capture moments in your life and where they are? When my students first step on my campus, I say, take a picture of your life. I don't mean to physically take a picture of your life. Don't take a picture of your front door, a picture of your kitchen. Jot down where your relationship is. Jot down what feels good about it and jot down what's uncomfortable about it. Jot down your belief systems, what excites you and what has you afraid. Jot down your health. What status is it in? What are your goals there? What are your pain points there? Jot it all down, not just intentions and goals, but jot down frustrations and tolerations. Why? You want to capture your frustrations and tolerations because when you're in personal mastery like this, when you're in human potential development, when you're working on yourself, those tolerations and pain points won't always be there. And you want to remember. You want to remember the progress that you made. Most of us will not grow in 180 degrees form. We'll grow needlepoint move by needlepoint move by needlepoint move. And so journaling is important. It may not look like anyone else's form of journaling, and that's okay. But take a picture of your life and take a snapshot of your ideas. Auto record your dreams. Auto record that thing you're not even ready to take action on. so that it'll be there when you're ready. Or at least you'll remember to be creative, prayerful, acknowledging, grateful. So remember, journaling is based on you. No one else's journey is like yours. So no one else's journal will be like yours as well. Happy capturing.
Rule number 7 is keep moving towards your goals.
How do I keep my momentum going on my goals? So I'm going to give you 4 things to do. Write this down. Number 1, set a very clear buy-win date, but to make sure that your buy-win date is gracious and realistic. Your goal is designed to stretch you, not stress you. Let me say that again. Your goal is designed to stretch you, not stress you. And many times when you're feeling stressed by a goal, it's because, now it's not always this case, but many times it's because of an unrealistic timeline. So what I love to do with my team at Motivating the Masses is I love to ask, by when will you have that done? And if they say, I can have it done by the 15th, I say, great, get it to me by the 20th. Unless we're in a time crunch and I can't say that, I love to add a cushion of about 5 to 10. I've even added a cushion of 15 days to a goal, because then you want to go, oh, I could do that. You want to set a goal that stretches you, but your energy is, oh, I can do that. And so that's number 1, set realistic timeline, a buy-win date. Number 2, you want to set milestones. The goal that you set 3 months ago, did you set milestones that you could sit and look at and be with to let you know that you're on the right target, that you're on path? And if you're off path, it can let you know. Such as, if one of your goals, the New Year's resolution of all times, was to lose 25 pounds, right? Inside of 4 months. Then if that's the case, how many pounds will you lose every 2 weeks? How many pounds should you be at in 30 days? So that you can see if you're on target or off target, and then give yourself permission to redesign the goal. Oftentimes we let our goals sit in mold, like we don't let the goal move. In reality, that goal has some movement. So while you want your goal to be solid, you don't want it to be so rigid that you can't adjust. I'd rather hit an adjusted goal than not hit the goal at all because I just fell off the wagon. So number 1 is to set a buy-win date, and to literally be committed to that date being a date of grace and ease. And number 2 is to set milestone goals so you know that you're on the right path. How do you keep the momentum? Number 3, you get an accountability community. I did not say accountability partner. I said an accountability community. The ideal size, just so you know, of an accountability community is 9 people. That's the ideal size. Why? Because if as many as 5 fall off, you still have 4 engines running. So I want to invite you to get people who are going in your same direction. They don't have to have your same goal. They're just going in the same direction. And if you don't know where to find those individuals, what I love about the Motivating the Masses tribe is that those who are students, now it's different to be in the tribe than to be a student. Our students have been on our campus, virtual campus. They've learned from us. They've come to conferences. They've purchased the videos. They've been in the homework. Their engines are already going because they know that this is a high action community. So if you already know that, then you know, raise your hand and say, I'm looking for an accountability community. We're looking for 7 people who wants to be in an accountability community for the next 6 months. Ask that question and ask it again and again. Don't just post it one time, post it multiple times. Now, if you're new to this community, know that our students live inside our general population, but they're also inside of our program communities. Almost every program that I offer comes with its own private Facebook community. People are more active in those private Facebook communities. You have far fewer people, but they're like 5 times more active than the general population. So you want to get into a community of active people and then form your accountability community within that tribe. And finally, how do you keep momentum going towards your goals? Focus on the result in your life that will be created versus the process to get there. How does life look differently? You need to visualize it. So I would say I finalize everything with cap it with guided visualizations. I am a visualization fanatic. I do it unconsciously. I do it in the airport. I do it on the airplane. I do it all the time sitting in my bed. I do it in the tub. I do it in the shower. I do it while I'm putting my makeup on. I visualize what does it look like when I get there. I don't necessarily spend my energy on how to get there. I want to get attached. You want to get energetically attached to the result and the outcome. What it feels like when I am 25 pounds lighter. What does it look like? What do I walk like? How active am I? What does it look like when I have more than enough in my bank account? Let me pick a number. Let me visualize a number, very detailed. How does life look differently? Not just with toys and bells and whistles, but what does the grace and ease feel like? What can I do differently for my mom? What can I do for my son? What can I do for my dad? What does it look like being in a loving, fruitful relationship? How will I feel getting up? So you want to sit inside the outcome, feel it energetically. Energy grows where energy goes. So don't spend all your energy thinking about how to get there. Invest your energy in what it feels like once you've arrived, and then back into the process. So that's at least how I keep my momentum going. And it's worked for me for quite some time. So I invite you to adopt any one or all of these techniques.
Rule number 8 is be with quality people.
My life has been a culmination of a ton of relationships. And I'm a keeper, meaning if I meet you, I want to keep you, right? I want to keep you in my life. And one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was that relationships have evolution. And there's some relationships that are lifetime. No matter what you do, they're going to be a lifetime relationship. And then there's some relationships that are life-giving. They're going to be short. They'll be shorter, and some even short. But they're designed to let you know you're still in the game. They give you a critical piece of information, a critical piece of knowing. And it might not be a romantic relationship. It may be a friendship. It may be business. But it won't last forever. It won't even last a long time because it was designed to give you life. And then there's purposeful relationships. Relationships that are designed for a purpose. Whether the purpose is to help you grow up, to help you love, to help you learn, to help you set healthy boundaries. There's a purposeful relationship. And that purpose is real. And once that purpose is fulfilled, the relationship shifts. We often think either or. I can have this or that. I don't know where we learned that. You know, I think it came from great grandparents and just was consistent. It was as consistent as our family reunions. It was as consistent as, you know, cuddling up in a snuggly with some warm socks and watching a great movie during the holidays. We also have belief systems. I think one of the greatest blessings that I gave myself was the gift of no longer thinking either or in my relationships. I remember over 20 years ago when I was first introduced to transformation and personal mastery. And I remember stepping into an environment and no one looked like me. No one was my nationality, my culture. No one was even my gender. And no one was my age. So I felt like an alien. Yet I was excited about what I was learning. I wanted to learn more about this thing called quantum physics. I wanted to learn more about this thing called the law of attraction. I wanted to learn more about this thing called personal mastery, self-awareness. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with pray, get on your knees, ask God, get up, eat a Sunday afternoon dinner. That's what I was raised with. And I remember wondering at the ripe age of 29, do I have to leave my existing community in order to adopt this new mindset? In order to run with this new tribe? Do I have to let my existing tribe go? And I would love to tell you that at 29, I had the awareness, oh, no, I can keep both. I didn't. I dug my heels deep into the learning. I dug my life deep into the evolution of my soul and my mind. And I can honestly say that the existing relationships that mattered so much to me, I just thought that they would stay there and that they would forever be there while I chose these new relationships in this new world. And I made a mistake. I didn't water the relationships. I didn't nurture them. I didn't feed them. And just like a flower, relationships require light and sun and love and nurturing. I'm grateful that I didn't lose all of my existing relationships. I'm grateful that I soon became aware that my existing relationships are not optional while I build new relationships. I realized very soon that my existing relationships with my family, that those relationships were anchoring. They kept Lisa's feet on the ground. Little did I know I would then be on Oprah and Larry King and Steve Harvey and Dr. Phil and would travel around the globe. Little did I know who I was becoming. And if I'd known who I was going to become, I really would have invested in those existing relationships because they keep me anchored. So I say all this to say, please don't choose either or. We live in an abundant universe. You want to design and with. How do I have both? How do I develop forward-pulling relationships with amazing people who are navigating and walking in the same direction as me while I stay anchored in my existing relationships that are non-negotiable? No matter where you go, you're still always someone's daughter. You're still always someone's niece, someone's son, someone's father, someone's brother, someone's sister. So make sure you nurture your existing relationships while developing future relationships. We don't live in either or. We live in and with. And I'll end with this. When you get to the end of your journey, and you're 95, 100, 105, whatever age that is, where you're sitting in your favorite rocking chair, and you're telling the stories of your life to whomever will listen, you want to make sure that your relationships have a really great part in that story. I laughed hard. I played full out. I ate great food. And you want to make sure that you have all those things to do with the people that you love. So water your relationships, both new and existing.
Rule number 9 is balance your mind and body.
I've learned for years that my body was my temple. I learned that in church as a little girl. Didn't understand it then, but then I grew to understand what that meant. And I was an athlete, and I did so many things to strengthen my body. But I didn't understand or value my body. I was just going through the motions as a young girl would. I realized that my mindset and my mind had a direct relationship to my body. For 19 years, I was obese. Most people only saw me as overweight, but I was obese. No one knew the health hell that was happening behind every bestseller, behind every stage, behind the 6-figure, 7-figure numbers, behind the notoriety. See, I didn't understand how to balance my body and my mind. What I did understand was how to grind. Just type your name in chat, do a Yana Lisa, Yana, Y-A-N-A, you're not alone if you understand what I'm talking about. I knew how to grind. I knew how to hustle. I didn't know how to balance my body and my mind. I didn't know that that was such a thing. As a matter of fact, just truth be told, I didn't think the people that looked like me even had conversations about balancing your body and your mind. I just knew we went to church, we prayed and gave it to God and got up and went back to the grind. That was my story, may not be yours. I didn't understand truly what it meant that my body was my temple until my temple came crashing down. I had 6 blood transfusions in 3 years while making bestseller number 1, bestseller number 2, bestseller number 3, bestseller number 4, while standing on stage and signing autographs and doing all those great things. I was also struggling with my body beyond belief. And it was my own personal health hell. I didn't even think I got to tell anyone about it. I was too embarrassed, too ashamed. See, I didn't understand balancing my body and my mind. I didn't understand that where my mind went, my lifestyle went. So my lifestyle was getting more beautiful every day, talking to big celebrities and going on national programs and traveling internationally, but my mind was still struggling. So I don't bring you this message from a mountaintop. And while I could have just jumped into the lesson that I want to teach you, I need you to know that I had to live out what it meant to not know the lesson for probably 21 years. And only about 7 years ago, believe it or not, I finally felt like being the victim to my body, to my circumstances in that area, was no longer acceptable. See, your body is your temple. Our body is our temple, and it's an instrument. It's an instrument, the machine. It's the physical embodiment that gets us to where we get to go. It's the container that carries us to our purpose. If there's a purpose placed on your life, your body is designed to get you there. Your body brings you into great relationships. Your body brings you into great service. Your body brings you into great experiences. Your body is the thing that allows you to have a dynamic exchange with someone. It took so long for me to get that. It took so long for me to value that.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is embrace new possibilities.
So many things have changed over the last 2 years. So many unexpecteds. So many trials, tribulations. Things have come into our space that we did not invite, we did not want, and yet we had to learn how to navigate. And so I ask you, what did you have to let go when the pandemic started? What did you have to release when the pandemic started? Did you have to release a job? Did you have to release the way you looked at things, the way you went to work, your relationship? What did you have to release during the pandemic when it started that you didn't like doing in the first place, though? See, here's the deal. We've had to release so many things, but some of the things that we've had to release, we didn't even like it in the first place. And you might be considering going back to it because it's what you're used to doing. I got to tell you, a familiar discomfort, many times we become more committed to a familiar discomfort than we will be to an unfamiliar new possibility. I'll say that again. Many times we are more committed to a familiar discomfort than we are to an unfamiliar new possibility. Why? Because it's familiar. So I ask you, what limiting habits, beliefs, or environment, relationship, etc., that you're considering going back to that you didn't want to in the first place? You didn't want to do it. You were done with it. There were so many things that were beautiful in my life, but I was done with it. Even though it was beautiful for someone else. I traveled over 280 days out of the year for the last 10 years. Traveled first class, red carpet rolled out wherever I go. It was amazing. And the pandemic came and I had to stay at home and I had to go to work in my office at home in these. Oh, I tell you, I got them in every color now because what I'm clear on is that I want to travel the world. I want to inspire people all around the world, but I don't have to do it all on a plane and in a hotel and dealing with being alone. So I want to invite you. I want to invite you to say, I'm here and I say, no, I'm not going back to that thing that I didn't want in the first place. Or I wanted it at one time, but I outgrew it. Do you realize that there are some things that you were doing 10 years ago that you've outgrown now? There's some things you were doing 5 years ago that you've outgrown now. And if it doesn't feel good in this moment, it's probably because you've outgrown it. Give yourself permission to graduate. Matter of fact, I want you to throw yourself a graduation. You don't have to have a whole big shindig with the signs outside saying graduate here, but you can make yourself a cupcake. You can give someone notice. You can get a group in WhatsApp and say, I graduate myself. You can gather the family around the dining room table and say, I graduate myself. I graduate myself from having to cook 5 days a week. I graduate myself from being everyone's answer. I graduate myself from hustling and grinding more than I'm pouring into myself. I graduate myself from putting other people in front of me. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm just saying. My camera crew can raise their hand too. I mean, they're in the back. They're behind the camera raising their hand. I graduate. I graduate. I graduate myself from being worried about money all the time and putting my passion on the shelf. I graduate. I don't quite have the strategy for what's next, but first I have to graduate to remind myself that I'm beyond this moment. Remember, this show is not just a monologue, it's a dialogue. I'd love to hear from you. What are you ready to graduate yourself from? What are you saying? I ain't going back. I ain't going back. Listen, everyone keeps saying, I just want things to get back to the way they used to be. In some areas, no. Do a lot of things, but don't get back to the way it used to be. I want to get forward to the way that it can be. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect immediately. This is not a rah-rah or foo-foo conversation. But I am saying we get to create. We might as well create. All bets are off. All deals are off. Nothing's the same right now. This is the perfect season to create what you want. We're talking about living in an optional state. Now, what does that mean? See, optional is when you have a goal. It doesn't mean that you don't care about anything. It means you have a goal. I really, really want to achieve that goal, unless it costs me too much money. I really, really want to make this relationship work, unless they get on my last nerves and I don't feel like editing my words. I really, really, really want to lose weight, unless it makes me do too many things I don't want to do in the gym, or say no to too many things in the refrigerator that I want to say yes to. It's living in that space where I would love, unless it takes me into discomfort. See, there's a distinction between optional and non-negotiable. See, optional, you can really want something. You normally want it for years. Think about it. I mean, just think about it right now while we're talking. What's that something that you've been wanting for a while? And yet, it really is still optional. It could be a strong, strong, strong desire, but it actually still is optional. Meaning, you haven't moved every other option off the table and said, hold on, no matter what. You haven't gotten radical about it. You're still kind of polite about it. It's still optional. I have a question for you. What has optional cost you? What does optional cost you as it relates to that something? Whether it's your finances, I really want to save. I really want to grow my finance. I really want to buy another home. I really want to buy my first home. I really want to get out of debt. I really want to transform my financial life. But what is optional? Meaning I want it, but I haven't done enough in it. I've been willing to start and stop and start and stop and start and stop around your health and wellness, around your dreams, around writing a book, around a relationship. What has optional cost you? I know this might sting a little bit, Lisa. I'm really not happy you're doing this, but I love you. You know I love you, and we got to find out. Begin to think of what have you lived like it's optional. What are the areas of your life that, it's there, but it's not a non-negotiable yet? And what has that cost been for you? For me, let me just share with you, my health and wellness was important to me. But when I look back at it, it was optional. I mean, I went on diet after diet, probably about 19 different diets. I hired trainer after trainer, probably 9 different trainers. I had conversations about it, but I wasn't willing to be non-negotiable. I wasn't willing to be radical about it. I wasn't willing to be inconvenienced for my dreams about it. I just wanted change, but I wasn't willing to do everything all the time, full court press, consistently, long enough to make a difference. How do I know that? Because for over 19 years, I was over 200 pounds and I had multiple medical challenges. And when I became radical several years ago, I didn't ask, what do I have to do? I said, I'll do whatever. That was the difference between optional and non-negotiable. So what does optional look like for you? And what does non-negotiable look like for you? Again, in your relationship, what if you move to non-negotiable in your relationship? See, to me, non-negotiable in a relationship, whether it's with a sibling or whether it's with a child or whether it's with a parent or whether it's with a lover or a life partner, whether it's with a business associate, non-negotiable in a relationship looks like to me, I no longer have to get the last word. Non-negotiable looks like to me, I'm going to make sure every time I speak, I leave their dignity intact. Every time you speak, their dignity is left intact. Non-negotiable in a relationship to me looks like finding out what they need. In a conversation, even a conversation of tension or resistance, you look past the words to what their need is. And then you do everything you can to fulfill that need. Step 3 is about designing your powerful close. So most people end with a fizzle. And I'm going to say one of the major foundations to a powerful message is to end with fire, like fire. So end with fire, not a fizzle. Speakers often overlook and dismiss the close because they're so committed to the content and they think, oh, it's the end. No, like think about it when you're at a concert. When you're at a concert and like you're with like a mega artist, like if it were Prince or Tina Turner or Janet Jackson or Beyonce or Mary J. Blige, or if you're with Kenny G, or you have a concert, a major concert. They don't end with the fizzle. They don't end with the song that no one knew, that didn't go gold or didn't hit a major status, or that you can't sing along with. They crescendo. And they may go down and give you some of the, ones that are more mediocre in the middle. But at the end, they come out and do the encore even. And the encore is always something that gets everyone to sing along. It's an encore that it's fire. That's exactly how your message needs to be. So let me let you in on the secret sauce. Like a lot of things that I love to do now is really taking you behind the black curtain on powerful speeches. Behind the black curtain on becoming unforgettable when you open your mouth or when you present in front of people. Your close, here it is. You ready for it? Your close is so important. It's the audience's last impression of you. And most people go height, and down and by. I've witnessed so many times great speeches that kept me engaged and kept me excited until the end. Every time this happens, I'm screaming inside my head, no, please don't make your last impression a fizzle. To set healthy boundaries, you can't just make an announcement. I've been looking at the Lisa Nichols show, and I know you won't say it like that, but things have got to change. No, don't announce it like that. Don't announce it with that, what I call that stank energy on it. Don't announce it with that negative, I'm done, you've been using me. No. Again, they simply have signed up for the game that you created, the relationship that you created, which was, I'm going to give, you can receive. You don't ever have to worry about crossing a boundary with me. So the first thing you need to do is to set the record straight by apologizing to the people that you've allowed to cross your boundaries. You have to say, I apologize. Just say it just like this. Just quote me. Just like this. You don't have to say, you quote me. It's your own words. You can modify it as need be. But you know what? I owe you an apology. I owe you an apology because I've made you think that I have no boundaries. I've led you to believe that I don't need rest. What I've done is I've overused my yes. And so I'm not used to saying no, and you're not used to hearing no from me. I've even said yes to you when I needed to say no. And what I know about you is that you would want me happy. So I apologize. I set something in motion that doesn't even work for me. I love you. I know you love me, and I love the relationship, but I need to make some tweaks. I did this. Don't do it in any passive aggressive way that indirectly blames them. No, own your stuff. You are a leader. Own your mess. Own your choices. Own the results. I had to do it. Hold on. I set everyone up to believe that I can handle everything. I kind of like being the hero of the story. It was my ego or my self-esteem that needed to be fed for the last 10 years. And now I've grown up enough to realize I don't need that. And so in this new season, I need to set healthier boundaries. It's not about you. You never saw my line, so you didn't know that you were crossing it. You never saw the boundaries, so you didn't know where they existed. That's on me. Ooh, now that's grown folk talk. That's grown folk talk. That's adult. That's emotional literacy at its best. So I know it might make your knees knock. It might make your teeth chatter, but pull up your big boy pants, pull up your big girl pants and make it happen. Because on the other side of that is the experience that you deserve and the one that you're looking for. But it first requires you to do the work. In a previous episode, I talked about your Popeye muscle. That's the thing you've been doing for a long time already. That's the letting everyone cross your boundaries. That's the saying yes to everyone. And then there's that olive oil muscle. You know, the muscle that hangs down here because it's underdeveloped. That's that setting healthy boundaries muscle. That's that apologizing for how you've shown up and allowed other people to not even see your boundary. That's owning it. Oh, yeah, I know. It can be intense, but it's so incredibly beneficial. So let's do it. Let's reclaim your boundaries. Let's reclaim your joy. Let's reclaim your life. Let's reclaim your future. Let's reclaim and design it in a way that serves everybody. Because when you do this, you will model for those who are witnessing you. You will model. People won't choose to be out of relationship with you because you apologize for never setting boundaries. It'll be a little disruptive. It'll be a little uncomfortable. It'll be a little new. And then they'll settle in it. And then we know something new. And then you've inspired others to do the same. So many times we want to be paid, we want money, we want our bank account to just magically grow without us doing the work necessary to accept payment. And if you're already accepting payment, do the work necessary to accept a greater, bigger, bolder payment. I'll never forget when my fee was $3,000 as a speaker. I was like, oh my God, this is everything. And then it went to $7,500 as a speaker. I was so scared, like, no one's gonna hire me. Oh my God. It had nothing to do with the value I brought on stage. And then I went to $10,000 and I'm like mortified. I'm sweating, everyone's sweating. And I remember I was at an event with Les Brown and he went up and he did it, boom. And I went up and I did it, boom, boom. And he looked at me and I looked at him and we had a candid conversation and he asked me my fee. And at the time, I don't know what his fee was, maybe $20,000 or something. And he asked me my fee and I was like, 10,000. And he looked at me and literally you could see how the fee didn't match the experience. Now your fee doesn't match your worth, but I knew I should have been different. I knew that. And he looked at me and he said, if you charge $5,000 and you play full out and did what you just did, and you go home with $5,000 and the client goes home happy, everyone's good, right? I said, yes. He goes, and if you charge $15,000 and you give him what you just gave him, and the client goes home happy and you go home happy, then all's good, right? I said, yeah. He goes, which experience do you want to go home with? And I realized that it wasn't about the business. It was about my self-development. So I had to give myself permission to be paid. How to step and stay in your power. Understanding the power you have even when you don't feel like you have it. See, power and your strength, your resiliency, your tenacity, it's not determined by the weather outside or the politics or the social movements or the climate or the health conditions. Your power, your resiliency is there. Some days it's active and you're living in your power, you're owning it, you're walking with it, you're walking beside it, you're walking in front of it, it's walking in front of you. Power's everywhere around you. And on other days you have it, but you set it on the shelf. No one took it away from you. I know there are times we may feel powerless, but no one can take your power. No one. You may have to have reserve power. You may have to think about it differently. It may not be an active power, but power is always yours. You're always in the driver's seat of your life. And I'm not saying that excluding that things may happen to you, but I promise you that there's a point when you can slide back into the driver's seat. Number 2, when you feel like you've slid out of your power, how do you get back in it? Well, I'm going to tell you from my experience. Back in 1997, I had gotten into a toxic relationship, and the relationship left me feeling powerless. My partner in that relationship turned emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, and then ultimately physically abusive. And at the end of that relationship, I felt like I'd lost who I was. And as a result of losing who I was just his girlfriend. I was just his fiance. I was just Jelani's mom. I was just this abused woman. I had to go back and remind myself who I am. So whenever you feel as if you've lost your power, really you've lost sight of who you are and who you've always been. So what are the reminders? Number one, take Post-it notes with affirmations and stick Post-it notes with affirmations wherever you spend time. So the first place I stuck them was on the bathroom mirror, so that while I was brushing my teeth, I looked up and I saw a reminder, because you need reminders to get back in your power. I saw a reminder saying, Lisa, you are built from greatness. Lisa, you're a divine being. Lisa, you're a child of God. Lisa, greatness is your birthright. Lisa, happiness is your birthright. I would look up while I'm brushing my teeth, and it was like something was reminding me, like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Oh yeah, I am. In my bedroom, on my bedroom headboard, my bed headboard, it said, you only have to accept healthy love. On my headboard, on the back of my front door was a Post-it note that says, you are ready for the world and the world is ready for you. That was 1997. Like, that's how important those affirmations were in getting me back up and getting me back into my power, turning my crawl into a walk and my walk into a run and my run into a soar. And so if you want to get back in your power, begin to read things and write things to remind you of who you've always been. You may not see the evidence now, but it doesn't mean it isn't so.
Whenever we have guilt about feeding ourselves, serving ourselves, giving ourselves anything that we need to look at that closer. I used to say I felt guilty about having self-care and doing self-care because of what it took away from Jelani, my son, or what it took away from my parents, or what it may have taken away from my clients. But the reality was, it was simply the need for more personal development. For me to understand, I'm not only worthy, you're not only worthy of success and abundance, you're worthy of self-care. Like, it sounds so different because we're so used to running after, an abundant life, running after the riches of life, whatever those riches are, whether riches in relationships, riches in financing, riches in health and wellness. But you rarely see someone running after self-care because it's actually so available to us. It's a choice. And so it's easier for us to hide behind those other things when in fact, self-care is just as much our birthright. And we have to look at it just like we look at abundance, because we have to make a decision to give ourselves permission to have a healthy relationship, healthy lifestyle, financial abundance, and self-care. That self-care is a demonstration of self-love. So, self-care is a guilt-free act. Self-care is being responsible for your future. That you wouldn't dare get on a road trip that says it was 300 miles down the road. Look at your gas tank and see that you had 105 miles worth of gas in it. You would literally go and fill your tank up. Self-care is being responsible to your entire journey to go and fill your tank up.
Customize your content for each event. I cannot tell you how many times I see speakers and orators and teachers and whomever, and they have a really great message. But with each new audience they go to, 90% of the message is the same. I gotta be honest with you, some of the people that I know in the industry, some of my friends, they do it, and I love them and I love their heart. But I truly believe that the audience is paying for the lack of energy. Let me just say, lazy. The audience is paying because you're being lazy. Customize your message for your audience. Who are they? How are they different? And even if it's the same demographic, so they're still women and they're still entrepreneurs, but are we in a different time? I dare not deliver the exact same message this year to the same demographic that I delivered in 2019. Why? Too much has happened. She, he, they are in a totally new place. So you want to make sure that your message addresses your audience. Now, let me just tell you something. I saw a very powerful speaker. I will not mention his name. I saw a very powerful speaker be so sure that he can move the audience that when he was speaking to his audience, he actually went in a direction that this audience wasn't interested in. But it's where his speech was. And it was a great speech for another audience. And he was on autopilot. So I want you to think about it this way. You don't talk to everyone in your life the same way. You know, if you were talking to a 3-year-old, you have a 3-year-old's conversation. If you were talking to a 15-year-old, you have a 15-year-old's conversation to relate to them. And if you were talking to a 55-year-old, or let's just look at me because that's where I happen to be right now in my life, you would speak to me differently. And so you don't speak to your partner the way you would speak to your boss, the way you would speak to your children, the way you would speak to your friend. You talk to them in a way that fits the relationship that you're in with them. Your audience is the exact same way. Taking the time to customize your message. You can be talking about the same content, same technique. I teach about speaking all the time. But I'm always saying, am I talking to a corporate employee? Am I talking to a corporate exec? Am I talking to an entrepreneur? Am I speaking to a teenager? Same content, but I apply the message so that it fits the audience. This allows the audience to feel as if you've customized something for them and they have a more intimate connection to you.
Feeling powerful and feeling like you're in control and navigating your own circumstances is not something that happens by default. If you sit still and wait for the feeling of empowerment to come, it's probably not going to come. It's probably going to pass you by. The feeling of empowerment, the feeling of in control, the feeling of influence over your own life is something that is an active process. So there are things that you must do. So if you've had a feeling of being powerless lately, let me know. Type in chat. Because you came to this particular episode so that you can shift that experience. First, I want to talk about when I studied Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was blown away with this concept. He had the concept of 80% of people spend their time in their circle of concern, meaning they focus 80% of their energy on things that you're concerned about, but not things that you can influence. While only 20% of the people, the leaders, the top 1%, they spend 80% of their time in their circle of influence. Now, I want to say this again so you get it. So there's 2 circles. There's a circle of concern and there's a circle of influence. The average person living an average life, feeling like they're out of control or they're not in control or they're frustrated or they feel powerless, they're spending 80% of their time in their circle of concern. Things that matter to you, things that are important to you, but you don't have any influence over them or you have very little influence over them. While top 1%, people who are game changers, people who are changing their lives on an ongoing basis, they spend 80% of their time in their circle of influence and 20% of their time in their circle of concern. That was huge to me. It changed everything for me because at the time, I was average. I was spending 80% of my time in my circle of concern and 20% of my time in my circle of influence. And I didn't even know it. This might be new news to you. It might not be, but it might be new news to you. Like, oh, there's 2 circles. And so you don't change overnight. You don't just go from 80 over in one circle to 80 in another. You go from 80 in your circle of concern, and then you begin to work on things that you can impact more often. And you begin to focus your attention on things that you can shift and things that you do have more control over and things that you can influence. And all of a sudden you look up and you're spending 70% of your time in your circle of concern. And you continue to do the things that you can drive. You continue to own your finances and you own your health and wellness. And you turn up the ante on your relationships. And you begin to spend more time over here in your circle of influence. And now it's down to 60. And then it's down to 50. And then it's down to 40. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens.
This is about step 4. This one is huge for connecting with your audience and keeping them interested and engaged. Now, so many times I see speakers or presenters speaking, and they're not checking in with their audience to even see if they're listening anymore. And as a result, people are on their phones or they're doing whatever, they're multitasking. You want to keep your audience absolutely engaged. So let me give you some techniques. You want to identify your audience's drivers. You want to know these things before you even open your mouth. Like, you want to know what makes your audience tick. What gets them excited? What gets them into action? What's super important to them? What's the WIIFM? What's in it for me? But in this case, what's in it for them? What drives them? What motivates them? This step is beyond customizing your speech, which is what I mentioned in a previous show. This is really understanding the psychographic of your audience. Whether you're on social media, that's an audience. Whether you're teaching a class, that's an audience. Whether you're talking to one individual, that's an audience. So you have to ask yourself, what's the red button for this particular group of individuals? When I speak to mothers, I recognize that a mother's job is to make her children feel safe. A mother's job is to make them feel loved. A mother also feels overwhelmed. She's also the multitasker of all times. She also needs rest. And she wants to be acknowledged. Many times she's under-acknowledged. I know that. I know that before I start talking to the moms, or even when I'm talking to an audience and I say, if you are a mother, then, and I begin to go into the things that I know is important to a mother. If I'm speaking to a group of speakers or entrepreneurs, then I know it's about several things. It's about impact. You want your voice to be heard. You also want to know that your voice is powerful. You want to know that your message is being received. You also want to monetize your message. So it's not just about speaking, it's also about the business. If I'm speaking to teens during our Motivating the Teen Spirit events, then as a teen, I go, okay, so teens are not making a lot of decisions in their lives for themselves. Decisions are being made around them. They want to own their voice. They want to hear their own voice. They're tired of rules. So in the Motivating the Teen Spirit, when I'm talking to teens, I say, here are no rules. They go, what? In this space, we just make agreements together. Man, they perk up as soon as I do that because they're not used to that. So to that point, you want to make sure that you understand what the needs and the desires and what motivates the audience that you're speaking to before you even open your mouth. You don't want to just speak to what's important to you. You want to speak to what's important to them. And what are those hot buttons? What are those red buttons that will make them go, whoop, whoop? Let me listen a little closer. This part of the process may sound like a lot of work, but it's worth it because it can turn a speech, a message into an experience.
See, it's very difficult to speak phenomenally and to not be good. Come on, y'all from yesterday. Not be great, but to be what? Unfreaking forgettable. It's difficult to be unforgettable while you're still trying to look good. You can't do two things as chasing two rabbits. See, unforgettable has everything to do with serving at a level so high, so big, so massive that people feel like they have to change their lives because they crossed your path. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. See, when you're willing to use your voice, first you have to recognize that you have one. You got to recognize that no matter your past, you were given a voice, and your voice was given not to keep to yourself. Your voice is not a secret, says the secret teacher. And you have to be willing to use every experience that's ever happened in your life, not as a fortress holding you from using your voice, but as the fuel on why you will use your voice. You got to be willing to not stand in your story, but stand on your story. Yes, yes. It's not in spite of your past that you get to be amazing, that you get to be a change agent, that you get to transform lives. It's because of your past that you're perfect for such a job. When you own it like that, see, there's no question in my certainty about my life. Can you walk with that level of certainty so that when the wind comes and then when the wind blows, and it will come and it will blow and it will be a storm and it will be a tornado and it will look like divorce and it will look like bankruptcy and it will look like an illness and it will look like a loss. When it comes, it will rock you. It will rock you. It will rock you, but it won't move you.
You want to be consistent. Diana, you talked about you post every other day. That sounds like it's consistent. However, in the posting every other day, are you moving them through a journey? Are you just providing content? Are you speaking to something way out there? Are you inviting them every third or every second invitation? Are you inviting them to join? Are you inviting them in such a way that you're inviting them to get the solution to their problem by choosing you? Or just inviting them to subscribe or inviting them to follow you? I see so many entrepreneurs out there doing it wrong because they're blending social media with business building media. They're not the same. They're both done on social media. But social media is just, hey, let me hang out, let me TikTok, let me share a little something with you. Business building media is you have a strategy. I'm gonna serve. I'm gonna become the owner of this content. I'm gonna become considered the expert in this area. I'm gonna invite you to join me, join my tribe. Click here, come get this free, assessment that I have. Get this free newsletter I have. If you want to grow in this area. So it's important to ask what I call a benefit-based question. If you want to grow your business, you want to be consistent in your life, I'm just making this stuff up. If you want to trim your body and tone your muscles, then join me here in this campus because I can help you get there versus just follow me. Right? So you want to be consistent with your posting, but you want to post to a benefit-based, problem solution based, and then you want to make some invitations. I want to go into a deep dive on how you can really expose the truth. What does it take to expose your truth? First of all, courage. Be ready for whatever comes out. You can handle it. Hello, note to self, hashtag, I can handle my own truth. Just say it. I can handle my beautiful truth. I'm really, really good at this. Or I can handle my messy truth. You know what? I keep ending up here again. I used to get a stack of mail from Wells Fargo and I never opened it. Why? Because I knew what it was. NSF, non-sufficient funds. Now, and for years, I opened the mail from Wells Fargo, still with the same bank. And now I know it's something different because I had to look at that. Like, Lisa, you are creating this reality where you keep getting these little thin envelopes. It wasn't a lot because there was one sheet of paper in there that said, oh, by the way, did you know that you did not have enough money in the bank for the check that you wrote? And oh, by the way, do you know that that's going to cost you $35 additional? So that was my reality. I had to accept that truth. You are creating this financial chaos. I can't get mad at my bank. So step number 1 is have the courage. Have the courage to embrace your truth. Step number 2, I want you to get rooted in your truth. Root to rise. Go into an internal game, internal validation versus an external validation. I know that's easier said than done in this social media polarizing world where everything is snapshotted, everything is filtered, everything is videotaped, everything is posted, everything is commented on, everything is thumb up or thumb down. Wait, hold on, pause, brakes. Internal validation is first and foremost. Root. Be willing to go inward. As my boy Sean says, there's a reason why a hurricane will knock down a 20-story building before it uproots a tree. Because a building does not have roots, but a tree does. So what's your core belief system? What's your foundation? What brings you joy? What's your success? How do you define your success? Nobody can define your success but you. Not your mama, not your daddy, not your man, not your woman, not your kids, not your friends, not your career, not the title on your business card, not the balance in your bank account. You define your joy and you define your success and you get to redefine it. You're entering into new seasons of your life. Listen, the way you identified it in 2018 may not be the way you identified in 2022. What does it look like today? Understand, and realize that self-esteem is self-understanding. Self-esteem is understanding and being fluid and flexible in who we are and where we are at any given moment. So I'll say that there's so many opportunities for you to get caught up in an external stimulation to cause you to lie to your internal selves. Some of the same mindset challenges I had when I was launching my business in 1997, I hit those same mindset challenges in 2008 when The Secret had come out, when I was on Oprah. Then I hit the same mindset challenges and needed the same mindset shifts in 2018 when my company was 5 times larger. So I see this on my campus so often. People often assume that they need to get another coach to speak more powerfully. Well, in some cases, that might be the case. They need to join another community. That might be the case in some cases, or learn another skill set, a new skill set. Well, actually, sometimes it's a mindset shift. They need to make a needlepoint move in their thinking, working on their mindset. You can stay in the same community. You can have the same coach. You can do the same things, but with a different mindset, it produces a different outcome. Have you stopped to think about the fact that everything we do, everything we physically do, starts first in our mind? The opportunity to examine your mind and steering how you decide the direction that you want to go in or not. That's something that we don't spend enough time thinking about, that we should actually go, hold on, let me think about my mindset. Be super clear about who you are and about what you provide and how you serve people. So in order to do that, you need to be super clear. Write this down. What's the problem that you solve? Or what's the desire that you help come to fruition? I know you've probably heard me say that before, but it's because the truth doesn't change. I'm not going to give you 19 different answers to a question when the one answer is the answer. It's the Mecca answer, right? So who are you and who are you to the world? A lot of times, Diana, we touch no one because we're trying to touch everyone. Okay, type your name in chat if that just pushed a button for you, like, oh my God, that's me. Listen, I'm not speaking from a place of judgment or even as the coach solely. This was what I did. Remember, my company name is called Motivating the Masses. So I was trying to touch everyone and I wasn't impacting or converting anyone. So be super clear on who you are and what you provide as a service, what the pain is that you solve, what the desire is that you help bring to fruition, and how can you serve me, right? Remember, you're not talking to everyone. You're talking to one person at a time. You want to learn how to center yourself in stillness. And that, to me, is easier said for many than it is done, but it's so worth doing. When you center yourself in stillness and you fall into a place of gratitude, a place of, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in demand, instead of, I gotta do. Now, I know if you are a mover and shaker and a doer like I am, stillness feels like it's like anti-productive. But the reality is, when you get into movement, you want to make sure you're moving from a place of core. You're moving from a place of groundedness. And more importantly, and most importantly, you're moving from a place of gratitude, because gratitude gives you energy. And when you're serving everyone else, it's energy that we need. So, number one, center yourself in stillness and fall into a space of gratitude about being in demand, about having a full schedule, about being someone that others can come to. So gratitude is the soil for all good things. To the conversation about money and wealth, it's one, being willing to release a familiar now for an unfamiliar future. Now that's easier said than done, yes. And it's bigger than it sounds. Are you willing to have your future look unfamiliar, and in some cases, look around and you don't recognize anything? Are you willing? Are you so tied to the comfort of what you know, even in its discomfort? So I was willing to reinvent myself.
1,000 times? Are you willing to reinvent yourself? Are you willing to introduce yourself to the new version of you?
Yes.
Are you willing to go places you wouldn't go and do things that you traditionally wouldn't do? See, I wasn't traditionally in meditation or in visualization or hanging around older white men, or like I had a 1,000 things that I didn't do traditionally.
Define in your own terms, in your own language, what makes you happy. So often we're chasing someone else's version of happiness. We're chasing what media and society and what the masses say makes us happy. Well, define it for you. What makes you happy? What type of relationship? What type of friendships make you happy? What type of family, what type of encounters in your family make you happy? What kind of romantic experiences? These are all very big, by the way. There's not one answer to any one. There's like a list of answers to each one. What type of physical experience make you happy? What kind of environmental experiences make you happy? What makes you happy? What makes you happy? Travel? Is it rest? Is it lounging? Is it hiking? Is it trying new adventures? One new adventure each year? What makes you happy? Define happiness for you. Because if you don't define your happiness, someone else is going to define it for you.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.